Websites are constantly blocking us as we scrape, at least when we try to scrape them the normal way. Everything from Amazon, Steam, Walmart, you name it. If you've ever tried building a price tracker, you already know how fast this breaks. So today, I'm going to show you how to build one that actually works with a simple Python script while also using residential proxies. There are ways around these problems, we just need to find them. I have videos dropping all the time, be sure to subscribe. Welcome back, guys, for another episode of Code with Josh. For obvious reasons, I'm Josh, and I'm stoked to have you here. We're going to scrape prices off Steam, the gaming platform, but here's the real problem. Steam is aggressive, just like Amazon, with rate limits, IP bans, region-based pricing. Even if your code is fine, your script still fails, and that matters because this is actually useful. You can track price drops on your wish list, you can monitor competitor pricing, build your own deal alerts, and even compare prices across regions. This starts as a small script, but it can turn into a real tool. But none of that actually matters if Steam or these other platforms are blocking us, so the simple fix is residential proxies plus Python code that looks like normal traffic. By the end of this video, you'll have a script you can run every day without getting blocked on a lot of these platforms. Now first, you need a residential proxy. For this, I'm using DataImpulse, who have also sponsored this segment of the video. If you use normal data center proxies, you'll get blocked almost immediately. With rotating residential IPs, every request looks like it comes from a real user. DataImpulse has over 195 locations and over 90 million IPs. So instead of looking like a bot, you blend in with normal traffic. You can also whitelist your IP to keep setup simple. A tool like this is perfect for things like web scraping, ad verification, price monitoring, SEO research, to prevent us from getting blocked. This is what actually makes my Python script last in real time. It's just a simple pay-as-you-go model that starts at $1 a gigabyte with no traffic expiration. You can get started over on DataImpulse for cheap, and it takes less than 60 seconds to get everything you need to get a proxy today. All right, guys, so here I am in a clean VS Code environment. Now we're building out a proxy to bypass web pages that block us like Amazon, Walmart, Steam. So the first thing we're going to do here, right, is I'm going to set up a virtual environment just to make sure everything gets installed properly and I am in the right place. Okay, so we're going to go source, VNV, bin, activate. I'm on a MacBook, okay. Then we're going to pip install a bunch of things here. So I need to install requests because we're going to be making a bunch of these requests. We're going to need beautiful, beautiful soup for, okay, I need beautiful soup for that. And we're going to need pandas. Everything else is just built into Python. So these are the 3 external imports that we're going to use. Once that's done, I'm going to do a quick pip list. We do have everything we need. Clear this out. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that both of my settings are on my virtual environment, and we are going to go through our imports. So I'm going to import requests. Okay, we are going to say from BS4, import our beautiful soup. We need our pandas, okay, PD, and we can do here import time, import random, and we're going to say from date time, import date time. Okay, so requests, we are making requests via a proxy server. Pandas is going to help us export our data into a CSV, and Beautiful Soup is just our HTML parser to parse the sites as we get this data. Okay, now we need to create some proxy settings here. Okay, once you're logged in, this is the dashboard. You can see that I have used this to scrape before. It gives me back my data, the cost, all the metrics here for the proxies, okay? When you have this set up, okay, if I go over here to residential proxy, okay, you are going to see the settings that you need for your code. I have my proxy host, the port, the login, and the password here. These are the only things that we need to bring into VS Code to be able to do this. Everything else you do not actually need, okay? These are the main 4 things that we need for our proxy. And then anytime we push data or use the proxy, it's going to appear here inside our actual dashboard. Now, heading back into VS Code, all of these I am getting from DataImpulse, the site. So over there, I went through a few things. We are going to get things here like we need our proxy host. I'm just going to create some constant variables here. Proxy port, proxy user, and we're going to go with our proxy pass. Now, these two here, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to put these in a different file and just import this. I'll just say here, I don't have the file now, but from config import, we're going to go with proxy user and proxy pass. Okay, because these are going to be private. So no offense, but I don't really want you guys seeing that. You guys can get it over on the platform yourself. Now, as for the proxy host right here, I'm going to drop in what I got off their site. And our port is going to be 823, which is also on the site. Okay. Awesome. Now, building it out from here, before we do much else, I'm going to create a proxy, and this is just going to be an F string. Okay, we're going to go HTTP, and we need to drop in our data. So really our proxy user, which I have imported into a config file. There is my config. Along with our proxy user, we are going to give our proxy pass. Okay. And we need to do at our proxy, where am I going here? My host with our proxy port. Okay, so this is the proxy that we're going to be accessing using to bounce between these residential proxies, change up our IP to bypass all this stuff. Now, along with that, that is one proxy. I'm going to create a dictionary here of proxies. And really, I just need two alternatives. So I have HTTP, which that's one route that we can bypass with. So HTTP, I'm going to put here my proxy, but we can also do, right, most sites nowadays are HTTPS. This is also going to be our proxy, just like that. And before we write any real code, we need to add in some user agents. This is standard when we're scraping data. Okay, so inside here, I could scrape Firefox, and it's just different combinations of the computer that you're on, what you're working with to help us scrape the sites. Anytime you build a scraper, not even just with residential proxies, we're going to see stuff like this. Now, going on here, okay, I have already found some product URLs. I was just on the Steam store and I wanted to find a few that looked cool. They're just very simple games. They're URLs to games. So I'm going to drop in here, right? I have Counter-Strike 2, I have Dota 2 and Portal 2. These are games found on the Steam store. You can go and find those, right? They are going to be priced different based on your region. That's one of the advantages of using a residential proxy here. Now, with all this, this is really the settings that we need, okay? We get the host and port, all the information we need from DataImpulse. That is our residential proxy. We set up the environment that we're going to be scraping with, and I have some URLs, right? This is for Steam. Again, think Amazon, Walmart, anything you want to scrape that's going to block us, which honestly is most things nowadays because AI, can scrape anything. A lot of sites want to prevent that type of scraping. So we need a job here. We need to get the prices back, ultimately. That's the goal here. So to get the prices back, we can just make a Python function. I'm going to say get price, and this is going to take some kind of URL, hence these URLs here. Okay. One by one, I'm going to push it through this function, and it is going to digest the information and extract what we need. Now we're going to give it our headers. Okay. We're going to say here, user agent, and we're going to go here with random choice, and we're going to access our user agents. Okay, just like that. Now, once we have our headers, that's just the setup for scraping, right? We are going to try and do a bunch of things. I want to try and get a response back. So I'm going to use requests, and we want to get a response back from the URL that we pass in. Okay. Now, normally this would work for basic sites as is, right? I could print off my response. I would get some JSON back. For scraping, we drop in our headers. But now we're going to be dropping in our proxies. I'm going to say here proxies. That is a kwarg from requests. And we're going to give in our proxies, which we defined right here. It's passing in all this information, basically. So we're bouncing around different IPs to make it look like real people in here. I'm going to take my request and I'm going to raise, where is it? Raise for status. And that is our function response. And then we can mix up our soup. We're going to say BeautifulSoup. We're going to take our response. We're going to get some text back from that response. And this is just an HTML parser, right? Nothing more. So Beautiful Soup, we're not really scraping, we're parsing, we're breaking apart HTML. It's not like Scrapey, right? That is a real web scraping framework. This is just an HTML parser. Okay, that's what Soup does for us. Now, once we have the soup back, we can do and get different things. It's going to return all this data, but really we're after two things. We're after a name and we're after a price. It depends on what you're scraping for. Okay, so inside here, I'm going to say soup. I want to select one from that. Now, if you were to open the inspect file on your HTML, this is where I'm getting that from, right? You open Google Chrome, you go to inspect, you can inspect the HTML. Every single site has classes, excuse me. Every single site has IDs. I have classes, right? We have all these CSS elements that target a specific element. And the name is using this ID, it's using this class. It helps me narrow that down. So you can target that in any site depending on the class they have. The price used different classes. The price used game purchase price and discount final price. We're getting those back. Now I'm going to return. We're getting a bunch of data back. I want to get back my URL to make sure that it matches the one that we gave it. We want to get back the title of the game. So that's the name. We're just going to get the text back from that. I'm just going to say in case, let's just strip off any white stuff. And if we have a name, right, which we should, if not, I don't really want to scrape it. So I'm just going to say it's not applicable. There's probably an error in that. Okay. We're going to have our price. And here we're going to take our price. We are going to get the text back. Again, let's move off any extra white space from that. There should be a price, right? Because we're not going to extract it otherwise. Else, we're just going to say not applicable. Okay, and our last one, let's just make up a timestamp here so I know when we do scrape it. We'll just do date time now. And we're going to go is of format. Excellent. Okay, so this is ultimately the scraper itself. This is all I needed. Okay, we scraped everything. The real thing here is now in requests. The main difference to bypass this is we're just dropping in our proxies. Okay, so I can't run this without throwing an exception real quick. So we're going to say as E. We can just print off here, error. Let's be a bit more specific, Josh. Let's get the error back. And then let's return none if we have one. Okay, error. Oh, obviously this is what is going on here. Duh. Okay. Error. And I don't know, let's put in here too. Let's put in the URL just so I know which URL is throwing that error. Okay, so this is our get price function. We're almost done. Okay, I want to run this just to show you guys that it is working. Okay, so I'm going to define my main here. Let's get our results back. Results, we can store those in we'll do a list for this. That makes the most sense. For every URL in all the URLs we're scraping, okay, we're for looping through that. I'm going to get some data and we're going to call get price and we're going to pass it to URL. We're going to give the URL one at a time, 1, 2, 3, to our price function. That's what we're looping through here. And get price is ultimately going to return to us our dictionary of data that we want. Okay, so data at one point has that. If we indeed do have data, we're going to take our list and we're going to append the data to the list. And I don't want it to go immediately because it's going to overload the system. Let's just sleep randomly for a little bit to delay the system. This helps the proxies pick up. Okay. Now, this scrapes the data. I need to be able to read the data. Right now, I don't have anything. Okay, so where are you going to store your data at? This is really when we create a Pandas data frame. This is the purpose of Pandas in this case. I'm going to give it results. The name of this will just be prices. Let's say we're putting this in a system where it's going to scrape automatically over time. So every time it runs, it's a new date that you scrape it at. So in the name, I'm just going to put the current date that we strip it at, that we scrape it at. So I know every time we come back to this that, hey, I scraped this at this day at this time. Okay, just like that. We're going to end this in a CSV file. I have my data frame, I have my name. We're going to say data frame to CSV. Excellent. We're going to pass in the name of our CSV. Index is equal to false. And we're just going to print off done. And let's get the length of results back for us. That's pretty much it. If name is equal to main, we're going to call our main function. Voila. Okay, let me zoom out once. Hope it's not too hard to see for you guys. But everything here is set, and I'm ready to now actually scrape a website without being blocked or hit these rate limits. Okay, let's run our code. Takes no arguments, of course, because I said random, did I not? Ha, of course I did. I want uniform. Save. Run it again. You can see, okay, boom. I'm getting an error. Requests has no attribute URL. So all of these here are throwing my errors. Okay. Done 0. I didn't get anything back. Expected. Okay, each one threw an error. Let's take a look here. Close this. I'm going to go to the top. Going down here, let me take a look. I don't actually see very much wrong. Maybe, I don't know. We can try and give it here. Let's say like timeout. Maybe this will help. Let me run my code again. I think it was timeout. Yeah, it's actually generating something now. Let's see what we get back. And it's done. Okay, so done 3. So if we take a look here, we do see indeed that we have scraped, boom. Okay, so Counter-Strike is free to play. Okay, there's no price, Dota 2. And here we have a price inside here. So we were able to scrape that using our residential proxy to bypass everything and actually get the price data back. So now that we have a script, you can think about how you could expand on this, right? How you could put this into Cron and run this automatically every single day, depending on what you want. And this is one of the biggest advantages of not just web scraping, but how we can actually integrate proxies into this to bypass all these mechanisms that these sites have to prevent us from doing just so. Now, this is where it becomes more than just a Python script here. First, price change detection. You compare today's data with yesterday's and flag drops. Now it's not just collecting data, it's finding these, I don't know, arbitrary opportunities. Second, alerts. You send a message when a price drops. That's cool. So then I don't have to manually check this every time. There's country targeting, so you can compare prices across regions using proxies. Now you're analyzing markets, not just US pages or European pages. And then automation. You could run this daily so it works in the background, just like any automation script. That's what Python is great at. We can automate different tasks. This is one of them. And if you hit more complex pages, that's when we would switch to something like Playwright. So really, here's what I just covered. You saw why Steam scraping usually fails, not just Steam, Amazon, Walmart, everything. You saw how residential proxies can fix this real problem that we do have. And now you have a working price tracker you could actually build on. If you enjoy these types of coding videos, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you in another video.